So it's basically going to be an NFT with just women in it, from what I can gather.
Yeah. So inclusive, only vaginas.
Yeah, this was random and weird as well. Just makes you kind of a bit like a little bit of sick came in my mouth. The fact that the launch came.
Was it sick?
I'm hurt here, and here. The bum hole.
Boom, here it is, pod number 46, the world's most bullish podcast, the 4Bs. Myself, Sir Neverlook, Mr. All In, Dr. Evil 10%, and she is here. No, she's not. Of course she's not. Mrs. No Show, where are you? You're still out there, you're still alive, but you're not with us right now. What's going on, boys?
I think it's a bit of a crazy week in the world of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Crazy in the world of, in the general world as well, isn't it?
The macro global economics is going crazy right now, right?
Yeah, we seem to be yo-yoing on the price of Bitcoin, don't we? I think 2 weeks ago we were about 38k. Where's the price there? 38k. Yeah. And then last week it went to 44.
That was beautiful times.
Back down to 38. So it's interesting because when we hit 44, everyone's super bullish, like 100k's come in. Everyone's realized. And then we go to 38. Oh no, Bitcoin's dead. It should be doing better than this. Gold's at all-time highs. So therefore, if Bitcoin's gone down, Bitcoin's dead. And it's. I always laugh at the sentiment and how quickly, it's a 10% pump and dump. It's just going up and down. It's just traders.
But have you not sold your Bitcoin because Putin made it?
Oh god.
I know. I saw that didn't reach the agenda, right?
No, actually, yeah, it didn't. No, it was shoved in our chat, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That guy's a bit of a legend. He's like a less kind of listenable Peter Schiff. Like Peter Schiff at least makes some good arguments and then just goes, he's very logical all the way and then goes, but the answer's gold. Bitcoin's worthless. So it's just like the final 2% he gets wrong. But the guy that was referenced there, I don't know what his name is, but he's older than him. Looks a bit like a Charlie Munger / Warren Buffett, almost like on acid or something. And he's been saying Bitcoin's a scam forever, that it's a Ponzi scheme. And now that the fact that it's still around and he's obviously been proven wrong, now he's trying to attach it to Russia.
Yeah. I just took him as some kind of drunk or something.
Yeah, I just discarded the comments and quickly skirted over it. I was just like, whatever.
After I sold my Bitcoin and bought SHIB.
Oh, standard. I mean, I think we touched on this on one of the stories as well. And maybe, from some of your research this week, that you can tell me why the fuck does Ukraine want Polkadot, Solana, Ethereum, and I think Doge as well. Doge, they were requesting Dogecoin. Why?
That's one of the stories, isn't it? Doge in particular. Have they said Polkadot?
They didn't say Polkadot, but they've received a shit ton of it.
They've received it, yeah.
From the founder.
Yeah, you're right, because it was like 5 million, wasn't it, from the founder? But I kind of went, who uses Polkadot apart from the founder?
Well, yeah, I know exactly why they want it. It's so they can dump it and switch it just into Ukraine dollars or whatever they use. Well, they're not going to use any of these coins. Like they got sent an NFT that was worth 200k.
Yeah.
How's that going to help the war?
Sorry, is it worth 200k or is it worth nothing?
Well, it's right now it's worth 200k. So I think if they sell it, they'll get 200k for it.
I think I'll only agree if it's worth 200k if they actually sell it for 200k.
Yeah, to be fair, it's one of the crypto punks. Again, it's that Gavin Wood guy who's essentially he co-founded Ethereum with Vitalik. So then he then founded Polkadot. So he has one of the actual. I mean, there's only like 100 crypto punks or whatever. So they're all worthless. But as collectibles go, the crypto punks are the ones that I actually think the price is real. A lot of the prices are completely junk, and they're just buying it from themselves. But these 100 JPEGs, they actually are valuable. And he's in his, along with his $5 million donation, he also sent a 200 grand CryptoPunk. And I can guarantee what's going to happen to all those coins, and unfortunately, probably all the Bitcoin as well. They're going to dump it all for their local currency and then exchange it for weapons and stuff, because that's what they want it for, right? You don't donate to a war effort and not expect them to spend the funds on war. So it's exactly what they're going to hodl any of that. They're going to dump everything they receive is going to get dumped, and they're going to buy guns and bullets with it.
I think I already heard some research around the 26 million that they've received from people in donations has been liquidated to about 14 million or so. So they're already dumping it as soon as it comes in and turning it into bullets and weapons.
I think in the story the other day, it was 59.2 million in total in crypto.
Yeah.
59.7. Yeah.
And then it was 5.8 through Polkadot, which was mainly through the founder. And then Ethereum at the time was slightly edging Bitcoin. So I think they're both about a third, which surprised me.
Yeah, that was so surprising. Yeah, I think Ethereum may have been slightly higher than Bitcoin as well.
Yeah, it's 33% Ethereum and 31 Bitcoin, and then 17% stable coins. And then DOT was 14%, other 3%. But yeah, it's one of them where you're donating to this. In reality, I think the reason why it's higher is there's a lot of Bitcoiners that I think if they were all thinking, well, number one, right? If you're a Bitcoiner, donating your Bitcoin to a government straight away should be a why, what, hold on. This is the whole point of Bitcoin, is separating money from state. So giving them your Bitcoin voluntarily is such a mistake anyway. And then you've got to go, okay, well, let's just say that you want to donate to it because you do think World War III is about to kick off. Well, I think there's a lot of people in Bitcoin right now are going, hold on, we're not quite buying this. We think this is a big show. So I think, yet again, I think a lot of the Bitcoiners, and if anything, you what?
Pay-per-view show?
Pay-per-view, yeah. And some people are literally paying for it. They're paying for it in their network. Exactly. Which is why I think this is why the Bitcoin allocation, I'm even surprised it's at 31% of this 60 million, because that means what's 30% of 60 million? Jesus, 20 million. So there's $20 million worth of Bitcoin has gone to this. That means, like, who are these people that are donating? Because you're literally giving your Bitcoin away so they can fire bullets at people, and potentially in a kind of a WWE war that doesn't quite make sense. So I think if this was a much different thing, let's say we had, say, Afghanistan or Iraq again, and let's say instead of it being 20 years ago, it was today, and the US and the UK were about to go and smash Iraq, and someone in Iraq then goes, hold on, we want support, can you help us? I would imagine there'd probably be a lot of Bitcoiners that would support that. And then the amount of ETH and shitcoiners would be virtually zero, because they wouldn't get it. They'd be like, why are you supporting the other side? It's like, well, we actually aren't just playing for one team. We're kind of playing for humans and playing for self-sovereignty. And we're going to smash someone. So we don't think that's legit.
It is a weird one, like looking at the media reaction, because we had the unjust war on Iraq and Afghanistan. And it was basically fight for freedom, terrorists, and evil dictators, and everyone got behind that. Whereas this one's very much evil Russia. And so but they've got their media in Russia are saying, great Russia, we're freeing them or whatever. But then we've seen the westernized version of it going into Iraq and Afghanistan, and no one seems to see the similarities in the West.
Absolutely.
That's the amazing thing. Like, I'm not supporting Russia here, by the way. I think both wars are fucking ridiculous and innocent people get killed, but it's pretty much exactly the same thing.
But also, as well, touching on the media, is that we actually don't know what is going on, because we're only pretty much hearing one side of the story. And, ultimately we need to understand what is going on with the Russian people as well, because we're seeing the protests because they're against it, but they're being lied to by their government because it's a special operation.
We said that they're saving Ukraine, which is what America did with Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So that's my whole point, isn't the fact that I'm not supporting Russia. It's just the same play by Russia, who aren't supported by the Western media. So we've seen it before, and it's not nice. It's not nice for anyone.
Yeah. And then, like I say, it's impossible to know, because it's like that video that got shared where they're saying that, was it 57 Ukrainians died in some bombing or something? And in the background, there's a person that is obviously alive trying to cover themselves up with a black bag. And you just go, like, this could be fake, so who knows? But it looks legit. And I've seen so many videos like this, and there's been so much fake stuff.
It's got to be a joke one.
Yeah, I hope it is. Yeah.
But this stuff's getting reported. Like I saw that a BBC one that did get published live, and they had some of the Ukraine military behind them. And yeah, one of the guys, the ammo of his gun pops out, and he's kind of looking around, nervousness, like going, how do I put that back in? Like, this guy has never held a gun before. That he is not from the Ukraine military. He's just standing. He's a prop.
But wouldn't that just be some actors so that the BBC aren't in the war zone?
Why would you do that though? Like, the BBC is why would you hire military actors to stand behind you with a gun? It doesn't make any sense.
So it looks real for the UK, as in they're over somewhere safe, say like Poland, and they have these actors behind them.
But it totally undermines all your reporting, right? You've sent someone all the way out there, and then you're going to employ some actors to stand behind you. Like, no, just don't put anything behind you. Like, we know you're close, but you don't want to just explain it. Don't put actors behind you, because the second I see the bullets fall out of his gun, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, no matter what you say now, I'm not believing it, because you've paid someone to stand behind you with a gun that he clearly does not know how to use. So what else are you lying about? It's just,
yeah. Absolutely. We don't need the news that bad for you to make it up.
Yeah, if you've traveled all the way out there, you're about a mile away. Like, just say it how it is. Just literally do what your fucking job is, which is report what you're seeing. Don't recreate something. So you won't believe me if you don't see it. So I'm going to recreate it here. And then, well, now I know that. And then you don't tell me it's a recreation either. You go, oh, you're too dumb to think that. So we need some men with guns, and they just, who knows what the fuck's going on, but then what else? Yeah, so yeah, that was a crazy tweet though, from the Ukrainian vice prime minister. He'd obviously been probably harassed. This is why like weak people just fall to these types of scams. And he's probably been bombarded with Dogecoiners. And he actually tweeted out a tweet, which is incredible, right? He says Dogecoin exceeds the Russian ruble in value. So that's a nice little dig at Russia, right? If I was Putin, I'd go, yeah, and it's 10 times your economy, dickhead. Like,
what day did he tweet that out?
This was March
2nd.
Yeah. So if you look at Doge, I've just got it up on Google. It had a peak somewhere on the 1st of 10 pence, and then it dipped down. So on the 2nd, it was dipping down. So like literally, even this like little snippet of send us your Doge hasn't caused any upsurge. So it looks like it is going towards zero again, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're right. This could be, he's the second in command of the Ukrainian government. This is, the Ukrainian prime minister right now is basically Elon Musk. Whatever he says, people just publish around the world. So yeah, it should have caused the pump. Yeah, surprised it didn't. But he's
that's the first thing which that was the first thing which I looked at, and nothing. So I was quite surprised.
Yeah, is it now even memes can support our army and save lives from Russian invaders? Doge owners of the world, let's do it. And then he posts a Dogecoin wallet. What world are we living in? Like,
I know, whilst the war's going on, we are thinking about shit coins.
But it is just raising money, for Ukraine is ultimately what he's doing. He's selling to the public in order to bring money in, because that's his job. And he's thought people will do it with crypto assets because they're easy to transfer. Bam.
Yeah. It's just insane.
And we did also have one which links into this, which is Peaceful World.
Yeah.
Anyone know any kind of like background in Peaceful World? So it's a token which is being created, and it seems like someone's utilizing the war to cash in on it.
Yeah. So if you've clicked the link recently, it's been updated with that whole project's been cancelled now, and essentially it might have even just been spoof. They call it a spoof, which I'm not sure what spoof means in this context, because it seems to be a spoof would suggest that someone made it up, but I think they were going to do it, but then they cancelled it. So this was actually, weirdly, you talk about, you know, his jobs to raise money. This was kind of a genius little thing that he said, which basically said, if you donate to us, every single donor that comes in through some crypto coin, you will get airdropped a percent of this new cryptocurrency that will be from the Ukraine. So a load of people started donating just to get a piece of this new Ukraine shitcoin. And then I'd imagine they got a lot of feedback and just went, a nation state can't just randomly recreate its own cryptocurrency. Because number one, it's very embarrassing. Because imagine like America, the whole of Europe, they would have probably turned the whole world against the Ukraine, because you're essentially just proving that Bitcoin is money by kind of doing this stuff. And it was obviously just a bit of a cash grab, but yeah, it's got cancelled. So a load of people that donated didn't get their free shitcoin.
Yeah. And to be able to do this shitcoin through, again, a time where people are literally dying on both sides, it's really bad taste.
Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me it got shut down, because obviously, as we know, the whole sentiment in the whole of Europe and America, who are massively waving these Ukrainian flags around right now, is so anti-crypto, it's unreal. So I can imagine they've gone, look, you can accept donations in it, but you can't start creating your own. That's just, because imagine what they would end up doing there, like the complexity of a nation state. Actually, all donations, you have no clue who the donors were. So they could be Russians, for example. They could be anyone. There's coming from random crypto addresses. And you airdrop a new form of currency on all of them. None of them are KYC'd. No one AML'd. Nothing. Like every bit of regulation you could possibly skip, you just skipped it, and you're a nation state. It's just, I'm sure the little meeting they had about this, they thought it was genius. And then once they tweeted it out, holy shit, I bet they regretted it quick.
It's just impossible as well to obviously regulate or even, understand who's doing what.
Yeah,
not a great idea.
You can do it if you're a random porn star or celebrity, and fine. Like, it's going to take them ages to come after you. But when you're literally one of the presidents of the world, you ain't going to get away with it then. You're a little bit too public, mate.
We'll come on to that in a bit. Definitely. Should we lighten the mood slightly with regards to the Swiss city of Lugano?
Yeah. This is probably the best little bit of news of the week, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Shout out to NLW, who does coin desks, like a daily podcast. I don't know if you guys ever listen to it, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I know it exists. I don't listen to it though, no.
Yeah, I go for walks, and it's it's a good listen. So super quick, 15 minutes, bite-sized info. But apparently up to 200 businesses in the 10th largest city in Switzerland will now accept not only Bitcoin, but Tether too, as essentially legal tender.
Yeah, it's the second place that has Bitcoin as legal tender. It's a little bit of a random one, just a city in Switzerland, which must admit, I didn't even think cities and countries could do this.
That's what confused me a bit. And I think when I read it the first time, the wording was quite confusing. So it said about Bitcoin in the title, but then talked about Tether in the actual story.
Yeah.
And I was just like, why are you referring to Tether so much? Because Tether is its own cryptocurrency. And I think it's another complete shitcoin, isn't it?
It's a stable coin, that one. It's not as bad. It's just a stable coin. Basically, it matches the dollar.
Okay.
So the shit coins go, the stable coins are the least shitty, because there's no gains to be had. They just basically track the dollar. So if you want to, it's probably the only safe place really. It's probably arguably better than the dollar, because you can take custody of it a bit. But obviously you're still trusting a central third party, which is the Tether founders, that platform could get switched off at any time.
So I mean, just out of interest, it's not something I really know much about, the stable coins. So you're saying it tracks a dollar. So it started off a year ago at 0.74, but now is at 0.76. I mean,
that's in pounds, I guess.
So that's just because it's against a pound, is that?
Yeah, if you do that same thing but do it in dollars, essentially it will fluctuate by a couple of percent, but it should go no lower than, like, say 95 cents and no higher than $1.05. And it's because essentially there's no reason to buy Tether for gains.
I see. So it's 1.0010 and it's down to 1.0002.
Yeah, so it's
that makes more sense. I think I confused myself by looking at sterling, so that makes a bit more sense, but it seems a bit pointless.
Yeah, well, the reason why I use it, right, and I think weirdly, I think they could have a use case, which is it's purely for fake trading platforms and stuff, and it completely negates fiat. So let's say you are a trader and you're going in and out of Bitcoin and pounds. Instead, what you could do is buy Tether, and then you could actually move your Tether and your Bitcoin to a different platform that is completely outside of the fiat ecosystem. And this is exactly what people have done. And there's cryptocurrency exchanges that are completely unregulated, that just sit in the ether. So you can't deposit pounds or fiat to these exchanges. You can only deposit crypto. So what you can do if you're a trader is you hold kind of your balance in Tether, which essentially is your pounds or your dollars. And then you make your trades in Bitcoin. And when you want to sell your Bitcoin, you just sell it into Tether. So, and it just keeps you, basically you're out of the market, but you're not in fiat, but it's the digital version of fiat.
Is this so you don't have to pay tax?
No, it's still a taxable event. But if you want to trade on these platforms, you're probably not paying tax. You don't give a shit. You're in the Wild West out there.
Okay.
But it's still a taxable event. It's just basically, it's a replacement for pounds and dollars. And it actually makes it a bit simpler for people to, when you move from country to country, sometimes getting the currency exchange from one type of fiat to another, it's expensive. But if you actually move, so one of the smart things you could do, obviously you could just do it in Bitcoin, right? But if you're not a Bitcoiner yet, what you could do is just convert it to Tether and then move countries and then just deposit your Tether onto a trading platform, because converting your, I don't know, Canadian dollars into French euros might take ages and cost you 2 or 3%. So you could just convert it there for Tether and pop up at the other end with Tether, and it's still valid.
But also the loss of buying power as well in comparison to how the two currencies trade against one another. You may hold more buying power by doing it in Tether and then picking it up in the local currency on the other side.
Yeah. I do think in a Bitcoin standard world, we will also have a stable coin where essentially Bitcoin will probably become that stable coin over time.
I was going to say, if Bitcoin is the standard, then what would the stable coin be off?
Yeah, it's probably just in that period where fiat is going crashing to zero and Bitcoin's crashing up to infinity.
As they all do. every currency goes to zero.
Yeah,
from the Book of Ray.
Yep, absolutely.
Book of Satoshi. But, so there'll be a period of time basically in the transition from a fiat standard to a Bitcoin standard. Stable coins will play a part.
Yeah. So, kind of going back to story, it's a Swiss city of Lugano with 62,000 residents. So it's not like it's massive. It's still decent size, decent amount of residents. But I mean, what have they got to gain from accepting Bitcoin? Is it a marketing ploy to bring in tourists and some crypto money? Or is there actually anything more to it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Did you open up a bank account in Switzerland? Obviously, the Swiss bank account, deposit your money here. It again attracts more tourists.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they are trying to attract people with money, because like we said on, I think, last week's show, was the Swiss bank account as a thing of the past.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we've spoken about that and it's pointless now.
So maybe what they're trying to do is go, well, now it's the crypto wallet is the new Swiss bank account. And they're going, guys, we have all the people that know how to hide money. They've been training in on all the blockchain and Bitcoin stuff. We'll help
as long as it's not MetaMask.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, we've got 2 stories on the difference between shitcoins and Bitcoin. But yeah, you might be right. It probably is a bit of a marketing scheme. It doesn't really make sense, like why one city in Switzerland has made Bitcoin legal tender. So it's big enough to make a splash, but small enough not to make any difference whatsoever in Switzerland, never mind in the world. It's a little bit sus.
I'm just thinking it through in my mind, and maybe it's kind of like a little bit of a dress rehearsal. You know, we try it out in a small city, very low to no impact, and see how it goes. Can always roll it out and scale it out if it works.
What it does do, like by making it legal tender, this is the same thing happened in El Salvador. Like by law, you have to accept legal tender for goods and services.
Yeah.
So once you make Bitcoin and Tether legal tender, that now means every shop for goods and services, you have to accept Bitcoin or Tether. So it does create quite a bit of change within your like mini economy within that city, because every shopkeeper from selling ice creams or a Ferrari, they should now have to update their payment mechanisms to accept Bitcoin as well.
Literally all it is a phone app though, isn't it?
El Salvador, that it's complex. It's not too simple. It is a phone app, and you can use various platforms, but when you go to like street vendors and like your little small shops,
yeah,
some of them are still just cash, right? And now suddenly
exactly
accepting Bitcoin now, like that's quite
tech savvy are these 62,000 people that are residents in the city. Do they all know about Lightning? Are they all going to start downloading an app? Is there an app that is being touted as the best app in and around the area to be used by everybody? Like that obviously hasn't come out just yet because it's only just been announced, but that's what we've really got to look for, because the way that El Salvadorians were able to embrace it, and obviously it has a population of 6 million, I think 3 million are now using it, is through the incentive of the $30 that they got when they opened up a wallet. There's no real incentive, as I can see right now, for these individuals to do so. It's just come out of the blue. Like we've talked about lots of countries taking on Bitcoin as the latest country to adopt Bitcoin and a Bitcoin standard. You've got your favorite Dr. Evil 10% as Pakistan, but it's not Pakistan, it's Switzerland, and I don't think this was on any of our forecasts.
Well, we weren't going for specific cities, were we? We only count whole countries.
Well, we were saying whole countries.
What was
picking cities?
I mean, we've got the Bitcoin event coming up where there is the rumor of an announcement. Do you remember how many countries we said each?
I went 6. I think you went 2.
Yeah. I think I said 2.
I went from 0 to 2. I think we finally got you.
Yeah, I said like, I think in my heart of hearts, like
0
at the time I did think 0, but then I went by hope for 2. So I wanted to go. I want to be bullish. I think 3 or something. I think you said.
Yeah, I think I said 3 off the top of my head. So it'll be interesting because it looks like we're going to get at least 1, and there are some other countries which appear to be circling around it, checking it out and seeing whether it's suitable.
And I don't think it's a shame not to reiterate and repeat what we said last week as well. We've seen how Bitcoin can help in these times of crisis as well. So if you're a first-time listener and you want to go back and re-listen to Pod 45, the fact of everything that has gone on and people are having to relocate, Bitcoin is seen as that ability to transfer your wealth digitally.
And then, this it ties in perfectly what you just said, the next 2 stories really, because the donations that have come in, right, as we've just seen, it's 30% Bitcoin and 70% shitcoin. So
not forgetting me NFT.
And so you've got Ethereum here, which MetaMask, by the way, is pretty much if you want to use Ethereum and just loads of random shit coins and actually use them, 90% of people use MetaMask. I used it back in the day when I was in my little shitcoin phase, just testing everything out. So
what were you shitcoining?
Oh, everything, man, everything.
Anything he could get his hands on.
It's all gone to zero now.
What was, so obviously Bitcoin's being your biggest kind of like investment. What would be your second biggest?
Ethereum.
I suppose that's standard, isn't it? Everyone kind of goes to Ethereum as a silver before they realize it's a bag of shit.
Yeah.
And anything else?
No, but back in the day, it was quite boring. Well, I didn't go. There wasn't. It's not as inventive as it is now. There was like
not anything like Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, not Bitcoin. I got
Dash. Did you get Dash?
I don't think I ever dabbled in Dash. I mean, it's slightly before my time. But I ended up with I got given Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV because that was all in the fork. If you held Bitcoin, that was an airdrop. So I did shitcoin them and had to figure out how to sell those.
So how did that appear? I mean, how did you actually get that shitcoin? I think this was before Seb Neverlook, and did it just appear like on your ledger or something?
Essentially, yeah. It's much more seamless. Bitcoin SV did just appear, but Bitcoin Cash didn't. That was a scary one. You had to like send your Bitcoin to a new address, and then it would like fork it along the way and process it. And split it was terrifying. I
just had a heart palpitation as you said.
Did you do like a little bit first to test it?
I did, yeah. But the bit I did was I was holding on to some Bitcoin for like a mate, and he only had a bit, but it was still enough
for a mate. Yeah, it sounds like you're like doing your meth.
I know. Yeah, I don't know why I held it for him, but anyway, I had his. It was still enough to be scared about. And I didn't really think.
You used his rather than risk yours.
I used his, and
I'm good for it. Was it one of them? I'm good for it.
It's just like mate.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, he still doesn't know about how I did it. All he knows is that he got it at the end, and he's like, "Oh, great, I got 5% more Bitcoin." I'm like, "Yeah," and it disappeared for like 10 minutes. Both wallets just went to zero. And
I love it. The podcast 46 has revealed a secret that he was probably going to take to his grave, and you've just got it out of him, Dr. Evil 10%.
Yeah. Well, we've got a couple of revelations. We've got that this mate isn't really his mate. So if you've got 5% gains off Mr. All In, he's not your mate. Yeah. Probably shit on your porch. And then 2, basically Mr. All In's playing with shit coins basically revealed that he is basically a former crackhead.
Yeah. Like I said, that's why I always say, like, the phase is you come in for Bitcoin, then you shitcoin, and then you actually get Bitcoin and you go Bitcoin 100%.
To be fair, when I first bought Bitcoin, I didn't really know what I was buying. I speculated, bought some, but I also bought Ethereum at the same time.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, because at the time when on Coinbase, I think they had, when I first signed up for Coinbase, I think they had 2 coins on there. And then I think it was literally Bitcoin and Ethereum when I was on there. And then I think over the years, they added like another 3. And I think I bought a little bit of the other 3. And purely thinking they're all listed and their unit price is cheaper than Bitcoin. And people are so stupid, they don't work out market cap. They just go, this coin's £1 and Bitcoin's like £1,000. I'll buy the one for £1. And so I just went, I'm just gonna buy some of these. And then they did all go up, and I ended up converting it all into Bitcoin in the end. But yeah,
my Ethereum, I think, went up quite significantly, but then I paid a shitload in gas fees, which shows the efficiency of Ethereum.
See, I don't know if you'd pay that now, of course, had you have held on to it, and because you could have sold it on Coinbase Pro and paid very little.
You'd have to get it there, though.
Yeah.
Did you put it on your ledger? Did you on your Ethereum?
Yeah, I had it. No, I just had it sitting on Coinbase.
You shouldn't have to pay any gas fees there.
No, yeah, because
to sell it, I had to pay like a significant transaction fee.
Oh, that's just Coinbase robbing you.
Yeah,
but it was the point where I just didn't have any faith for Ethereum. So this is when I got Bitcoin. I went, why have I got this? I just need to get rid of or convert into Bitcoin. If I'd waited a couple months more, I would have got a lot more money. But it was the whole thing like as far as I considered it, it was shit. So I sold it.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, going back to your point as well, you know, it's easy to think now because there's literally thousands of shit coins, but at once upon a time, you know, we started off with Bitcoin 2009. Ethereum didn't come around until 2013. And then since then, of course, there's been the creation of more and more coins along the way, but it was a small handful, pretty much, of coins at that time.
And there's been some startling innovation like SHIB and
the fact you use the word innovation and SHIB in the same sentence.
And let's not forget Dink Doink.
Oh, of course.
Legendary. Yeah, but back in the day, like the way to shitcoin was literally like getting listed on Coinbase was like the mecca. That was the end goal for every shitcoin, was to get legitimacy by listing on Coinbase. So what you would do on like crypto Twitter back in the day is just be in that echo chamber and figure out which shitcoin founders were about to list. And the rumors would come out and there would be hundreds of shitcoins, but they were just like, there's hidden. And eventually one would go, we're getting listed. So everyone would pile in using MetaMask to buy the shitcoin, and then it would get listed on Coinbase. You get a massive pump as all the normies see a new shiny token, and then you just dump on them, convert it to Bitcoin. But now Coinbase is just so full of shitcoins. I think there's literally hundreds on there now. None of that happens.
There's also the ones which you think are going to go big when it just gets revealed as a rug pull.
Yeah. And also, it sounds like history repeating itself and rhyming in the fact that we're seeing the same kind of play, but with NFTs.
Yeah, it's identical. Yeah, it's very similar. Like it's all just a scam for gains. Like this isn't. It's what we always say. It's like even when I was shitcoining, I didn't think I was changing the world in any shape or form. I was literally just doing it. Probably at the time to make more pounds, which was what I was wrong about. I should have been doing it to get more Bitcoin. Yeah. But at no point did I believe in any of the projects. It was just a case of going in and out of stuff and just believing the hype and trying to ride it. And then as I've got kind of older and more mature, I'm like, no, I just don't want to play that game. And ultimately, every time I'm pumping and dumping, like who was I dumping on? I was dumping on the poor pleb sat on Coinbase. It's also
wasting time. It's also wasting time digging around to find this insight. You know, like we have talked about it before, and it is the temptation of making quick pounds, but you can also get the rug pull if your timing isn't right. So you go in for something like, I don't know, the Dogecoin where everyone's riding it, and then we saw the big crash, and it just seems to be going back down to 1 pence or below.
Yeah,
and it's just it is a waste of time, you know, rather than educating yourself about various different aspects which you need.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, you could half keep up with it. It was probably like one shitcoin would get launched a week or something. That was it.
Yeah.
Now it's like 100 a day. Like it's just impossible. So it's just and the space has gone from being 1 or 2 million people to now hundreds of millions. So the noise is just incredible. And it's like, yeah. And for every pump, because weirdly, like nearly every shitcoin back in the day, because there wasn't very many of them, if they ever got listed, they all pumped. Whereas now, 999 of 1,000 shitcoins only dump. It's down only. Yeah. So unless you're in the founding team, there's no point.
And you're right as well in using the word project. They actually used to, create a website, make it believable that this project was actually going to be something that came to fruition, and give you a little bit of bump along the way. Now it's just a launch. There's nothing behind it whatsoever, and it is just a guessing game. And very similar, again, happening with NFTs. You know, people are asking me, "Oh, what should I find out about? Like, what about NFTs?" And I'm like, "No, just say no to the JPEGs.
Just say no." It'll be the campaign.
Yeah, say yeah.
Unless you're mates with Snoop Dogg, and he will tweet it out for you, then you'll make some money.
What was that coin? Like you talked about the fact that there can be nothing behind a crypto now. What was that one where the woman launched it and was trying to put legitimate, and it's just her with a spreadsheet behind a website changing the price.
Oh, OneCoin.
Yeah, that it just made me think about that was the first one where everyone's going, "Oh, it's this amazing coin," and it turned out it was just a spreadsheet behind a website. And
I mean, that's a great example, isn't it?
Yeah, that is not even having a project. That is nothing. But quite a lot of the shit coins for any kind of new listeners is the promises of what's going to come, which nearly always don't, because everyone cashes out when they see it booming out of the interest. And it's the same with NFTs. We've got a story today, but there have been various different NFTs where people have been, saying they're going to be amazing. We covered one last week, which was about you got some kind of creature, was it, to Pokemon? And it was meant to be this amazing graphic. And they got some artists to make it. When they made it, it was like block graphics from the early 90s. It's possibly the shittest NFT I've seen in my life. And this is what you've got to deal with. Like, someone isn't even going to spend any money on giving you a product. They're just going to take your money and give the biggest piece of shit you've ever seen.
Can I tell a funny story, actually? Because just on that, so
as someone you're associated with bought an NFT?
No. But as we said about obviously spreading the word of the podcast, and a friend of ours watched the show, not only listened to it but watched it, and your face at that point was like you actually bought the NFT yourself, and like you're literally, if you go back, and I'll send you the clip at this like point in time, and it's like you are disgusted as though you bought the coin yourself, and you're like, I think you literally say, what the fuck is this? and you can feel the rage, because you just sat there in silence. And this is just last week's pod.
But it is like, I just can't believe that people are putting this shit out.
Yeah,
like,
but buying it and finding the money for it, right?
Yeah, people are buying it for thousands. Like, this is the kind of money, it's a rent money. It's maybe, they've got some company shares and they've just got absolutely ruined by going into some shitty NFT. But if you play, stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
People are thinking the same about us, though, buying Bitcoin, right?
Well, they can have fun. They can have fun staying poor.
Preach.
I'm not going to make it.
Never going to make it.
But no, so just moving back to the story, it's why we got onto it was, Ethereum essentially has blocked transactions to Venezuela, citing compliance with laws. So, as we already know, Venezuela are already sanctioned from just about every economy in the world. And I think, from what I can tell, their only crime is being poor. They haven't bombed anyone. But it's because people are saying, like, Russia's going to be the next Venezuela.
It's because they were trying to sell their oil cheap, wasn't it?
Yeah, naughty.
And
I bet they weren't even accepting dollars for it. I bet they were accepting euros or maybe even gold. How dare they? How dare they not accept valueless dollars?
Hey, and going outside of the petrodollar is a no-no, right?
Yeah. And as a result, they're now sanctioned and no one can interact with them, not even Ethereum or Bitcoin, because you can store Bitcoin on MetaMask, can't you?
I think it's only Ethereum.
So I had a quick look and it seemed to say, but the website might have been wrong, which came up with my Google answer.
It probably does do Bitcoin, actually. It probably does. Yeah. So if you use MetaMask,
it would be wise, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I'd imagine it supports everything. Yeah. And then then we've got another one, haven't we? We've got OpenSea. So this is the main NFT platform, banning every wallet associated with an Iranian IP address. So this is now a random guy in Iran can't sell his NFTs.
What's going on in Iran? Have I missed this one? Why is there sanctions against Iran?
Well, everyone hates Iran anyway. They're a nuclear threat to the world, if you listen to the nonsense on TV. And again, you know what their real crime will be? Not accepting the petrodollar for their oil.
Yeah.
And And if
Yeah, so
anything,
they are
they should be
oil rich, aren't
count
they?
their lucky stars that the America hasn't gone in and bombed them to shit and only cut them off financially. But yeah, so that's another one. So you got.
But this is like, you got sanctions against the country, but then you got the individuals who are, you know, crypto trading. They could be doing whatever, and they're having their payments blocked. So we have talked about this maybe last week, and it applies to like the Russians. So I think I saw a message on Bitcoin which someone had liked or replied to, who I follow, and it is around Twitch is their income, but something like PayPal is through Twitch. You get paid using PayPal through Twitch, and because PayPal has blocked Russians, it's cut off its only income stream. And this kind of shows the flimsiness, like individuals who just want to feed themselves, feed their families, are being cut off by this. And they got no part in these actions, whether it's the petrodollar, whether it's a war or whatever the fuck it is, and they're being punished when they're just trying to go about that every day. And this is ultimately the core principle behind Bitcoin. It is that financial freedom, not being tied to a government.
Yeah, it's one of the things I realized why this sanctions list is just so bad and so just human rights violations all through it. Because, you know, in my time when I went to Puerto Rico and started to set up a bank over there, it was going to be like a crypto / Bitcoin bank. That's what I wanted to lead it with, but they ended up going more fiat. But then part of it was just, okay, we need to sort out the onboarding. And they obviously got out the sanctions list. And I started going through all this stuff. And I go, we can't ban entire countries from signing up. I don't want to do that. We're out of the regulation here. Part of the reason why I'm here. And I want to build something that's inclusive. And they went, if we let a single customer from like Venezuela or Iran sign up, we'll have the FBI smash our door down and arrest them.
Yeah.
Like we have to ban them. And it's just, these people are not terrorists. They are not. They are normal citizens that just live in a territory that America is pissed off at. And they're just cut out. And we were supposed to be a global bank. And that was the whole reason why I was getting involved in this new bank, was like, I got sold on the mission. It's like, we're going to be global. We're going to accept Bitcoin. You know, anyone in the world is going to have access to American level finance. And I'm like, this is it.
You're not getting the license if you don't play ball.
Exactly. And they were like, and I was on their exec team at the time. I was like, you get what you want, and you let a load of Iranians and Venezuelans sign up for these bank accounts, you will end up in prison.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, well, this isn't the way of doing it then, is it, boys? Like, this isn't it. We have to build something outside the system. And I left and just, you know, wanted to do something more specific on Bitcoin that I thought could help. And obviously, you know, all of our careers, we work with like these sanction lists and stuff, and we sell these products into customers. And I think in reality, I didn't really understand how bad they were. I actually genuinely thought they were, I knew that they, like, good people got caught up in sanctions, but I didn't really realize just millions of people are just arbitrarily in there because of their country of origin.
Oh, you mean like the Russians will be from moving forward from Feb 24th? Because again, I've said it before, you know, there are legitimate Russian people that are protesting against the war and probably being seen as the crazy ones, defying Putin right now. But should
they're not even allowed they're not even allowed their McNuggets now.
Well, McNuggets, Coke, petrol from Shell, Land Rover, no, paying with Apple Pay. You know, it's all being taken from them.
Yeah, I saw a funny tweet actually with someone going, like, all these American companies pulling out of Russia. It's almost like Russians are going to be better off. They're going to be healthier and have better clothing and better TV than ever, because so much of American culture is just junk food, reality TV, just total shit. So It's almost like you don't want to ban them for too long, because they're going to all get ripped and just go back to natural meats and veg, and then just like, and actually start watching TV that they learned from instead of your reality shit. Like, exactly. I'd switch it back on. I'd open more McDonald's. That will hurt them more.
The Western culture isn't a good culture in terms of everything that goes along with it.
Yeah. So they're going to come out the other side of this. We're all going to be obese, diabetes ridden, like full of shite furniture that falls apart in 2 years in their houses. The Russians are going to be still built like brick shit houses, have furniture built out of trees, and it's like they're going to be sorted.
I'm not going to be clever for not dealing with the media.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But should we finish off this little story, because essentially the reason why it all loops back. So you've got shit coins being banned in Russia, not in Russia, in Venezuela. You've got NFTs banned in Iran, and then you've got Canada trying to ban Bitcoin, and are also trying to freeze Bitcoin addresses. And they've sent an email here. Well, actually, it's the reply of an email back to the Ontario Superior Court of Justice, basically going, we're an exchange that allows custody of their coins, so we can't freeze anything. We can't prevent them from being moved. And we do not even have knowledge of their existence, nature, value, or location of our users' assets. This is by design. So guess what? If you take custody of your Bitcoin, they can't take it. And I think I know the guy that runs this exchange, because he runs an exchange. It's Francis Polio. It's Bull Bitcoin. And yeah, it's a very clever exchange where it's Bitcoin only. And whenever you take the wallet that is in your Bitcoin wallet within the exchange, the Bitcoin actually isn't in the exchange. It's actually in your wallet. So every time you want to use it, it's a little bit slower, because you have to actually do a transaction to actually send it to them. You can trade it. Then it just, as default, your default wallet is a custodian wallet of yours. So when they've had a load of donations to the truckers in Canada, they've then obviously got in touch with them and gone, we have a load of list of these Bitcoin addresses. They originate with your exchange, or they probably actually weren't even that clever. They probably just got all the transactions and just went, which ones of these are yours? You need to block all your users that are relevant to this and freeze their accounts. And they've just replied with, you can't block their accounts. They're self-custody. It's nothing to do with us. We just facilitate their buys and sells, but their actual core Bitcoin, they can do whatever the fuck they want with it. We can't freeze it.
Yeah, and I think offline we may have spoken about this in our group as well, but I think that is a worry for anyone listening. So to be aware, we said it, and we have said it every week or most weeks running, in terms of not leaving your Bitcoin, or if you are shitcoining, any form of cryptocurrency on the exchange, because it only takes that one message from one to another, or the exchange themselves, to all of a sudden become woke, and you are broke, essentially, in terms of taking anything off. You can't off-ramp back onto your ledger and then take self-sovereignty.
So what do we say about this? Not your keys, not your cheese.
Not your cheese.
Exactly.
Powerful statement, right?
Yeah, and just on the topic of Canada there, because that was a Canadian kind of government reply. I actually saw a little clip of massive protests in the centre of Ontario right now, all being clapped. Everyone's cheering them on because they're protesting the war in Ukraine. 2 weeks ago, they're protesting their own freedom, and those people are getting booed, and are now all those people that did the protest are in prison. And I can guarantee you, the people walking down with Ukraine flags right now, blocking the center of their city center in Canada, trying to put pressure on the government to go to war. These people are insane.
Yeah.
Did it trigger you?
It nearly did. I just, you know what? I get triggered a lot.
I think that's this week's still frame right there. You look triggered right then, don't you reckon, Dr. Evil 10%? I felt the trigger.
It's like the reeing.
Yeah.
We've got a good story that leads on from
talking of not your keys, not your cheese as well, right? Because and you touched on it as well earlier on, Mr. Orlin, in terms of gold being at its all-time high and people buying gold. Are you buying gold, or are you buying IOUs? Are you buying paper gold? Because I don't know a lot of people that actually own the physical gold themselves. So therefore you are paying 2-3% for somebody else to hold the gold for you. And ultimately, how are you trusting that organization? Because you hope that they don't, again, block you from owning your own gold, or some form of new rule that comes around that says you cannot now hold your own gold, certainly in these uncertain times.
So just that one, just really quickly. So the question is, well, why do you think they're going to do that?
Why? Because they want to stay in control. And if they deem gold as essentially, a store of wealth, and of course scarce in these uncertain times, and fiat going to zero, importantly, because we can't trust the dollar, the pound, the euro, the Venezuelan bolivar, or whatever you want to.
Look at you with your fancy words.
Hey, ultimately.
So kind of dig into that again, but they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't take your gold,
wouldn't they?
They already have.
Yeah,
yep.
Exactly.
It's already happened, and it was illegal in America to hold it until, I want to say, the 70s. I may be wrong. It was illegal for about 50 years.
Yeah.
From when they confiscated it, which was around, was it the Second World War? Is it First World War?
Yeah.
Sorry, my time's off. Sorry, probably 20, 30 years where they made it illegal for you to hold it. So people wouldn't store all their money in gold.
Yeah. I always say, like, if you've got physical gold, then okay, it's a slight argument, but most people have paper gold. So this is right. So you have brought a hedge against the system collapsing. Your hedge is in the system. So this is exactly what happened to Michael Burry in The Big Short, when he gambled and put a huge short on the housing market going down because he knew it was a huge bubble. So when he put that short in, he made sure he got that short insured. And the banks laughed at him at the time, but he was going, I am betting that you fail. So when you do, you won't have any money to pay me back. So I need to make sure my bet is insured. And that is the only reason he made any money from his bet. So if you are buying gold and listing it on the same exchanges that you think the fiat system is going to collapse in, your gold's going to get stolen too. Your IOUs, those services are going to just get closed. So unless you have physical gold, then I would say that's a good, it's a distant second. Bitcoin is by far first. A distant second is physical gold, but you also need to verify it. Don't trust, verify. So even if you buy the gold, get it tested. I'd employ an expert to make sure that gold is legit. Is it gold all the way through? Do all the check marks add up? So that will cost you a couple of $1,000 just to do that. So you've got to make sure you're buying a good chunk of gold, because it'll probably cost you a couple of grand to verify the gold you bought is even real. So
but then also, just to flick that back to Bitcoin, you kind of message does repeat onto Bitcoin, make sure it isn't on the exchange. So if you do ever have this kind of event again, it can't be taken. So you've got self-custody. And if you don't know how to do self-custody, there are plenty of how-to guides, and there's even a paid for service, which I think we covered a number of weeks ago, which looked really, really quite comprehensive for the people who are less confident, less tech savvy.
How are you carrying that physical gold, by the way?
Big gold chains, like Mr. T.
Well, I think if you've got gold, in reality, what you're hoping is that when everything crashes, your country is going to crash, but you don't have to flee. So it's just safe where it is.
Exactly that. You're
hoping.
You don't have to flee.
Yeah. So that's why obviously Bitcoin is the far up number one, because it's all scenarios. All scenarios are sorted in the Bitcoin standard. Whereas if you're on gold, you've just got to hope that your wealth is stored in a nice safe somewhere, but still someone could just knock your door down and come steal it off you with a gun. I guess they could still do that with your Bitcoin, but they've got to get into your brain for that.
Yeah.
There's going to be passwords and stuff on it. Whereas with a safe and with some gold in it, you can force that open and get in and walk out of it. Nothing you can do. But yeah, talking about, if we carry on the war topic, and then we can kind of get off a lot of this bollocks and have some a little bit of light relief to end the pod. But we've got a big story here. There's a huge article that I found on Bitcoin Magazine called "The Invisible Cost of War in the Age of Quantitative Easing." And
it was a bloody long article.
Yeah, it's by Alex Gladstein, who is a legend in Bitcoin, and yeah, he's basically he runs like a human rights kind of organization. He's always fought for like people, and he's realized it's what brought him to Bitcoin is inflation, and the way they use inflation to also then commit wars that just impoverish and kill millions, if not billions of people. That is the biggest problem with fiat, and it's what dragged him into Bitcoin and went, wow, if we move to a Bitcoin standard, this is a lot tougher to do. And yeah, he's got a great article on here where it basically just says this is how governments hide the cost of war. Because what back in the day, before you had quantitative easing, which essentially is just a posh word of saying money printer, the only reason they ever used the word quantitative easing is to confuse the plebs into thinking, you don't understand this, so just don't think. That's why Bitcoiners just talk plain. It's a money printer. They're just inflating the supply of the money. Don't worry about, they're not directly printing it. They're loaning it from here, there. No, it's all bollocks. They're just printing it. And so the way they pay for war, or at least back in the day, the way they pay for war is through taxation. So you would see it in your pay packet. You're getting taxed an additional 10% because we're at war. And eventually people would get tired of that and go, look, is this war still? And the people would demand progress, answers, detailed knowledge of why are we doing this? And the second it wasn't kind of popular with the people anymore, the wars would stop and they just go and do something else. But now we have 20-year wars where the people at no point are really protesting it. Almost they protest at the beginning, but then they get tired. And the reason that they don't protest it is because we don't see it directly in our pay packet via taxation. Instead, it is put in through stealth, through inflation, which
it's
is
a cost on your stake.
Yeah.
Cost on everything, the entire cost of living, just the value of your wages and your savings.
So he's putting a number of quotes, like 250 years ago, Adam Smith wrote that relying mainly on borrowing was a mistake. It hid the cost of war from the public and encouraged war by hiding the true costs. So exactly what you're on about, but very, very lengthy article, very good article. But it took quite some time to read, and I think it went on several tangents as well.
But this is it. Also, we're right in the middle of it, aren't we?
Yeah. He's got some really good articles actually as well. Like, for example, the end of imperialism in terms of talking about the American dollar, the quest for digital cash back in October, and also finding financial freedom in Afghanistan, which goes back to what we've just discussed in terms of people moving as well. So yeah, it's a long one, but a good one.
Yeah, so it talks about things such as bonds around the world. So originally, the First World War was paid for by bonds. So they did this in the US and the UK, and it was this bond which you buy into will give you 4% guaranteed return. So this is to make sure the country didn't go bankrupt. And the funny thing is, UK copied it, and do you know what happened with the UK one? It was undersubscribed. And do you know what they did instead to hide it? They bought it with the bank's own money. So they printed money, and the head of the Bank of England and I think one of the senior cashiers, it went into their name on the publications. And do you know who said it would be that was a stroke of genius? Everyone's favorite friend, the person who set the whole system up, Keynes.
Right, yeah.
He said it was a great idea to trick the public, and that is who everyone loves.
Yeah, well, we're on a Keynes standard, aren't we? As opposed to Austrian economics. because there's a lot of arguments to say, and I've seen people actually debate it. I've actually seen someone that supports Keynes debate in Austrian economics, and weirdly, I think it might have even been Alex Gallardstein that was on the other side of the table, and they really do believe that they did if that UK bond was unsubscribed, I think that might be even one of the examples that they used, and so by printing money and buying it, what that stopped was like a Great Depression in Britain, but and he thinks that's legitimate, like it saved millions of lives, but then fundamentally it starts a journey down the money printer, and eventually millions of lives are lost elsewhere or in the same place just later. It's just
it would have mean we would have thought twice about doing any silly long wars, like Iraq when we went in under Tony Blair. It wouldn't have happened.
It's I always say it's about accountability, isn't it? Like when countries fuck up, they should pay the price. So in that instance, like Britain had obviously fucked up. They'd spent too much money, probably on war again, and they've created this bond to get themselves out of this shit. Not enough people have brought the bond. So Britain should now face the consequences to go, you spent too much, you haven't got enough international funding, you're kind of going to be fucked for a bit.
That would mean accountability.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's just never going to happen. And they always know that they've got that safety net of printing money from the central bank, which is their crutch. But we know that the crutch doesn't last for forever, but it's their crutch nonetheless.
Yeah. Something else which I picked from this article was around the budget of America. So it talked about the budget's going to be 6 million, but all the income, all the tax and everything else is trillion. So it's
I was going to say.
They're going cheap this year.
You missed out like 6 zeros.
So the budget is 6 trillion, but the whole income is 4 trillion.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a massive gap. So to fill that gap, they're going to have to print a significant amount of cash, aren't they?
Do you know how much interest they pay on their debt a year? 1 trillion. 1 trillion.
Wow.
What's their debt?
Wait 1 minute. Is this on their current debt? Because the last time that I looked at my favorite world economic debt clock, right, the US was at 29 trillion. So if they've sidetracked 6 trillion, that's an extra 20%. But if you're adding another 1 trillion on top of that,
that's an interest every year.
Wow.
Which is essentially like a quarter of their entire GDP.
Yeah.
Interest on the debt.
Yeah.
So, and looking at this, there's $40 trillion in circulation. So based upon that, you're going to have to print 2 trillion. So that is a 5% inflation on top of I want to say it's like 30% inflation, which you've seen over the last 2 years.
Yep. But it has been because of the amount of printing that is coming into existence in terms of dollars.
Yeah, I almost forgot that whole the whole inflation and the fact they're going to have to hide it and all the money printing. When I was trying to think of the reason why this big Ukraine thing kicked off, I thought they were just trying to hide the fact that people were realizing that they shouldn't have been locked down, the masks and all the protests were happening in Canada. I thought they were just trying to hide all that, but then it suddenly kind of like hit me. I'm like, oh my God, of course, we're about to go into a massive depression. Like, they've literally just printed so much money. There's debt everywhere. No one's been working and making anything. Like, this has to come home to roost at some point. And when this disaster happens, they're going to need a better excuse other than a lockdown caused it in COVID-19. So I think this is a big motivating factor for why this whole Ukraine conflict is kicked off now, because did I put a story in here? I don't think I did actually, but essentially it's actually no, it is. It's in Inflation Weekly, so I can probably briefly talk about that now. Which is the price of wheat is at all-time highs since 2008. So a lot of these are supply shocks. There's I think the price of nickel has gone up by 250% in the last 3 days or something. So and a lot of this is because of Russia. So Russia have been sanctioned and all these cut-off things. But there's all these signs that the price of certain assets have just gone insanely high. And the last time these assets did this was 2008 in the bubble. And we know what happened next. It was a 50 to 80% correction across everything. And it just feels like that's where we're coming up to, and they're going to blame the war for it. And it's going to have nothing to do with it. They're probably going to make it even worse to start doing the war properly. They're going to print even more. But in reality, the damage has been done the last 20, 30 years. That's where the damage came from. And
I do think you're absolutely right. And because I've been looking at the whole Ukraine-Russia thing, and obviously escalating prices, fuel and gas and so on. And I think that one of the things that the governments might do, as they did in America, but actually give people money towards the gas and the electric. And so obviously that takes money, so money printing more money. And,
it just makes things worse.
Yeah, it will make things
you can't
worse
inflate the money and then give more money out to make things cheaper. That's like
yeah.
I think that's what
worse.
Biden said in his speech 2 weeks ago, because I think we're sending clips to each other on the group.
Yeah.
And it was, we're basically going to print more money, and to stop greedy companies charging more, we're going to put price controls. And
that's right.
I read this book, which is about the history of price controls. I fucking hate inflation. I fucking hate price controls. It's pretty much a hobby of mine, which I hate it that much. And it talks about all the times which price controls have been put in place on the back of mass inflation.
Yeah.
And why do they do that? Because the assets spiral out of control. No one can afford it. Let's put a cap on it. But when you put a cap on it, what happens there? It's that asset costs you X amount to buy, but because of inflation, you've increased it, say, 5-fold. And therefore, it's not actually productive to produce it anymore, because you can't afford the raw material, the labor to put into that. So therefore, it's something which you don't produce, so we don't end up with it anymore. And it's just, Biden saying price controls. I'm like, this is America gone, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
like,
it's everything fast forwarded. You're absolutely right. It's just putting everything into fast forward in hyperspeed. Coming back to what you said as well, Mr. Orlin, in terms of supply shocks, because of Russia and also, well, more Ukraine in terms of their wheat production, and obviously all of the men right now are at war. There's nobody going to be doing the farming in the fields. And so next year, we are going to probably see a really bad harvest and crop, because I think they've already done it, or partly, for this year. And so it will take time for that to come back again. And we don't know what the state of the fields will be like as well, or of course, how long this might go on. So as a main supplier, I think between around 15 to 20% of the entire world's oil, and I mean like rapeseed oil, I believe it is, and also wheat, then it's going to have an effect on everybody.
Yeah.
So in price of bread, something as simple as that, it's going to go up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you should let me eat cake then.
Yeah. They're literally going to be pushing like bugs and vegan shit on us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all part of the Great Reset, isn't it? Or it feeds into the Great Reset, I feel.
And yeah. It's scary how it just is all just merging. All these various stories all come back to the same point, where the only way out of this is a reset of the money. It's more of a standardization of our diet and our wants and needs. They're going to need to dumb us down to be happy with eating liquidized bugs and processed food, because that's all that's going to be available, because they've kind of almost destroyed the economy, and the people that were making all the food didn't get paid enough to bother to making it. So they're just going to have huge factories churning out shit. And we're going to live in a socialist state.
We can start feeding the crops Gatorade. So something else in this article, which I'll pick out on a serious point. So in 1990, so this is the effect of inflation. So we always think about helping the poor. It's always been, we need to help the poor, help the people who can't. But one of the key points is, if we didn't keep inflating the money, people wouldn't be so poor because things wouldn't be kept on pushing out of their reach. So this stat is in 1990, 1% held 23% of all American household wealth. So, the elite. Today, after more than 30 years of easy monetary policy, they hold 32%. So this is what inflation does. Giving handouts, giving, like free whatever, it may help it in the short term, but long term, it moves all the wealth to the rich because they own the appreciating assets, gold, property, art, the kind of collectible world.
Yeah, and also all the money that you give out for free during these furloughs and stuff, why does everyone have to spend that money? They spend it in a couple of companies, and it's the elite that essentially own those companies, either through shares or through direct ownership. So so it's a very temporary, here's a couple of $1,000. Well, yeah, great. What am I going to spend this on? Oh, rent. Oh, who do I pay my rent to? BlackRock. Where do I go and buy my food from? Oh, that's Walmart or Tesco. Who owns that? Vanguard and BlackRock. Guess what? All the money that you give out ends up at Vanguard and BlackRock in the end. So, yeah, they're just doing that. What was it? I think we saw in the pandemic, like they printed like £1 trillion or something in the UK. I think something like 7% of it got given out in furlough. The rest of it got given to Big Pharma. So.
Right. Where are we going next?
CBDCs.
Oh,
CBDCs. This is
there's a great video from, clip from Pomp. So we'll link it in the show notes where Pomp angles CBDCs as potentially one of the greatest human rights violations in history. So he's talking about it stops fiat really having to compete with anything. So it enables, by having this locked-in monetary system, that nothing else can get in. You couldn't have the crypto assets, you couldn't have alternate store of wealth, because people in control of the CBDCs have control of your spending. You want to buy gold, tough shit. You're not a friend of a government, or you're not the government. But people have looked at it and gone, oh, this is the government alternative to Bitcoin. But they couldn't be so wrong. And it kind of merges into one of our next points around the Bitcoin lesson. So a lot of my points are going to kind of like merge between the two. But you've got CBDCs, which is complete control. And what I thought was really interesting, what Pomp put across, is it can be for good reasons. It could be, we're going to decrease crime, we're going to rescue our fading currency, whatever you want. But as a result, crime's been committed, we're going to stop that. Or you're protesting against something which we don't like, we're going to stop your bank account for a week. You can't feed your family. Now, if you think about that, the truckers, you maybe don't agree with that. And then if you rewind back to, say, women's rights marches within the 50s and 60s, what do you think about that now? Oh, yeah, they're perfectly fine. But at the time, would you have thought that they could have frozen their bank accounts? Probably. Martin Luther, you think now that's completely right. But back in the 60s, would you have thought, no, I don't agree with that. So it's like, with that kind of like hindsight, you can see what's right and what's wrong. But at the time, because of how the media pushes it, you can be leading into closing off people's livelihood through this kind of source. And it is complete and utter control. I don't actually think there's any other reason why we should have CBDCs.
Well, you see it already as well in some industries, and I think we covered it where OnlyFans were blocked because they didn't like the choice of job that they wanted to conduct themselves in, and so all of a sudden, we don't want that money, or we won't allow you to make money using that form of employment. So it does happen already, but it will just happen more, because I see CBDCs as kind of like a coupon. And, essentially the coupon tells you exactly what you can spend with that coupon. It's not an open-ended coupon. It's got a picture of what is allowed, and if you're not buying that same thing, then it's a no-go. It's not. Whereas obviously with cash or with your own bank account right now, you can spend freely on whatever you want.
Well, within reason, but it does put complete control, and we are looking at like China examples here. Yeah. It is fundamentally what China have rolled out, and Rishi Sunak wants to roll out within the UK.
Yeah. Because the transaction will just be blocked, wouldn't it? Otherwise,
exactly. Oh, you want to buy an investment? No, so that's not a perishable good, and you'll be taking money off one of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the way I describe a CBDC, essentially, it's a shitcoin, but it's a shitcoin that is owned by a government. So it's like the worst of the worst. You know, you've literally, because I would argue that shitcoins are arguably better than fiat, because fiat is guaranteed to go to zero, and if you hold it in a bank account, you know, you can get it frozen at any time. You can't take it with you from country to country. You can actually take shitcoins, and they're actually harder to freeze. They're probably going to go to zero, but yeah, like fiat's going to zero anyway. But you can't at least take it with you. Like shitcoins actually have more features than fiat.
Here's a question for everyone. Do you trust the government to look after the currency, to keep it in a good state of repair based upon their track record of even the last 100 years since we came off the proper gold standard? Or if you want to go to 50 years to the 1971 when we came off the International Trade Agreement gold standard, and they've managed to devalue sterling, the dollar, or whatever else so heavily, can you trust them to have a locked-in system which can be used to punish people for behavior which they don't agree with?
No, of course you can't. So
nope.
Yeah, this is just an evolution, isn't it? Like you said, it's like people have like turned the innovation of the evolution of this film of fiat as a positive spin, to go, oh, it's all in one place, it's more controllable, you can take it with you, transfer fees might be less, global
you don't
fees.
have to deal with those naughty banks.
Yeah, exactly. yeah. And but yeah, in reality, when you really look at it, it's just a police state, isn't it? And it's this nice and easy. Instead of the governments having to issue sanctions and laws and go and regulate the banks and make sure they freeze bank accounts and make sure they get all of them, wouldn't it be just so handy if everyone was just in a single database called a blockchain and the UK government owned it? Now it's just nice and easy.
Like that. Yeah.
And they just get your national insurance number and they just press block on it. And it doesn't matter what app, what system, what service you're trying to use, the core access to your funds is off. They have ultimate power, and it's a click of a button.
The best description which I've seen of this was on Joe Rogan, Majid Nawaz. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
So he talked about the evolution from the kind of what we were through to CBDCs, which is using checks and balances, vaccine passports. You're not okay until you've proven that you're okay. Kind of going from that, you got to prove that you're okay in order to live, going towards these CBDCs so that everyone will think it's normal. And it's actually one of the scariest narratives which I've ever heard. And I kind of went, it all made perfect sense on the evolution, how they're getting there as well.
Yeah, he explains it really well.
And I think that's one for everyone to listen to if you haven't, to all listeners.
Yeah, ultimately, I think what's going on right now with Ukraine is hitting home a little bit more because of everything else in terms of the, overnight petrol prices just shot up. Overnight, they could see that these people, because they're slightly closer to the UK, were once normal people in normal jobs, sending the kids to school, sending them to nursery and whatever, and then they've had to flee. What happens if that happens here? Exactly the same. You all of a sudden become a refugee, or you all of a sudden become a fighter in the war, and you've got to pick up arms. So I definitely think that, but equally on your point of money, is the fact that your money could go to ruin, and they want you to be scared, and therefore there's going to be less resistance when they want to put this plan in place.
Yeah. Have you seen one of the additional clauses that Pomp lists in this article as well, which is the expiration of money?
It really is just a coupon then, isn't it?
Which, yeah.
But it's to keep the economy stimulated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which in reality, Pomp points out brilliantly in his article, really, where he goes, banks don't make any money unless you're using it and flowing it around, because that's when they make all their fees. They're going to invest it on the side anyway and loan it out 7 times for every pound they've got in. But they really want to take your money as well. So they need you taking debt, need you taking loans, mortgages, and moving it around, paying people. Because every single transaction, every tap of your card and every machine, they're taking 20p or whatever. They're charging for everything. So what they could do in this new central bank digital currency is maybe your wages might have like a 5-year expiry or something on them.
Yeah.
It's spend it or lose it. And literally the option of legacy, the option of giving like a nest egg for your retirement or to give to your children in an inheritance is just gone, because not only like it's kind of gone already doing that in cash, because they're going to inflate it away anyway. So you have to get smart and become an investor and put it in the stock market. But with this, it takes even that away from you. They go, like you said, they'll ban certain uses of this type of money and go, no, you can't just shove it in an investment and leave it there for 30 years. That ain't allowed. 80% of your wages have to be spent. And if they don't get spent, it expires and it's gone. And it just 100% encourages ultimate consumerism and just spending your money on shit you don't need, and completely removes the option of early retirement and giving your kids a good start in life. Is gone. Everyone starts from zero when they get born, regardless how good your parents were or the money expired. But what do you mean it expired? Like, why did it go?
Because you see that right now with the inheritance tax. It's just a new form of tax, isn't it? Which is even easier to control, because with inheritance tax, or you can kind of bypass things if you were to put it into somebody else's name and then not die for 7 years, and then it's okay, you don't have to pay anything on it because they've taken control of it. But also Saylor always talks about it. So Michael Saylor always talks about energy and currency having energy, or Bitcoin having energy. And money has energy because there's over, I want to say like 9 trillion worth of dollars, let's say, in terms of a currency that flows around the world each and every day, and all of the millions of transactions. And when money stays in one place, it's not good. It needs to flow. This is what they're doing, the equivalent of that. It just continues to flow. He talks about Bitcoin having an energy, and that energy, of course, is the protection of the miners. And obviously we've got the network that's coming about in terms of the Lightning Network. But ultimately, if they have this in place, they can force you to buy what they want you to buy, when they want you to buy it. And again, not just allowing it to accumulate unless you're in the club.
Yeah, and Dr. 10%, you put this in the notes, didn't you? So you wanted us to specifically answer the question. So how does that differ from Bitcoin?
Yes. So it's talking about the core concepts. So I suppose, first of all, it's talking about custody. So with a CBDC, it's always on their system. So it'll be either via phone, card, or kind of numerical balance, but it never leaves the system, the kind of like ecosystem. Whereas with the Bitcoin, once I own it, as long as I take it off an exchange and store it, it is my custody. No one can get that Bitcoin off me. And that's probably one of the biggest differences. Now, one bit which we haven't touched upon is around inflation, our favorite subject. is that there's 21 million coins of Bitcoin. We're just about to hit 19 million, aren't we? In a couple of weeks. So we're limited. There's never going to be 23 million, 24, 25. Whereas with fiat, as we know it, it will always inflate a minimum of 3 to 5% per year. Special years will give you a nice 20% bonus of inflation. And then a bit which Pomp actually referred to is maybe you're a little bit naughty, but you're not naughty enough. We'll give you personalized inflation. That was a concept where I went, if someone's not really towing the line being productive individual, according to what the government say, you can be punished a little bit, but not have your bank account frozen. So your CBDCs become a little bit more worthless than everyone else. And with Bitcoin, it is secure. CBDC, with it being a government project, it's probably not. So I'm sure someone can hack into it. And it's a decentralization. So talking about custody earlier, the kind of main point around that is decentralization. So we're not reliant upon the government. The government do not own the network for Bitcoin, whereas CBDCs, it is a centralized shitcoin, which the government control and dictate what it's spent on. Whereas Bitcoin, I can spend what I want as long as the economy can take Bitcoin. So like in El Salvador, I can buy a hot dog, I can buy a property, I can do whatever the fuck I want because it's my money. Whereas because it's a Wednesday, it's meat-free Wednesday, you're not allowed to buy a hot dog.
Buy the bugs.
Eat the bugs and eat the tofu.
Well, you say that, but I think that the governments are putting more and more pressure on the likes of the blockchain analysis companies to look into transactions as well. So whilst Bitcoin is freedom, to a certain extent, they're starting to cotton on to who's doing what, when, with what. And yes, it's a little bit harder, of course, to trace the transactions. Well, not trace them, but obviously look at the transactions. I mean, we covered it a couple of weeks ago with that couple that stole all of those Bitcoin back in 2016. But if they're motivated enough to do it, they will do it.
So kind of on a response to that, because I think we touched upon it last week, because it's meat-free Wednesday and I pay in Bitcoin, I can buy that hot dog on Lightning Network, can't I? And they can't trace me.
Exactly.
You can indeed.
Exactly. So they can get upset about it later, maybe, if they catch you with the burger.
Yes.
But in a CBDC land, you click on the hot dog stand and it just goes, eh.
So fuck you and fuck you meat-free Wednesdays, Fridays, Mondays, whatever day it is, I'm eating my hot dog.
Didn't you know that the world is getting boiled and the oceans are boiling because of cow farts? Don't you want to save the planet? Climate change is real, bro.
Yeah.
Is there anything else which you want to add into the technical side of it?
No, I think you did a great job there. Like you covered it off because it's literally everything you could. It's literally like, what is a CBDC? It's almost like going, well, go through the qualities of Bitcoin, and the CBDC is none of those. And that's essentially what you did. It's like fixed supply, unconfiscatable, censorship resistant, and then you just go, a CBDC is not only not that, it's the most extreme negative of it. So like supply, it's fixed. What's a CBDC? Infinity. Everything is as bad as it could be in CBDC land.
I think they'll start off with, it's for drug dealers, it's for money launderers. And then it'll be like, this person shoplifted. And then it'll be down to this child misbehaved in school, therefore we must punish his parents.
He took his mask off for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it'll be that slippery slope where you go further and further where you won't even realize. I mean, it's like, I see, Mr. All-In, you have bought chicken twice this week. Yeah. We're going to freeze your account. And that's a kind of slippery slope which we don't want to get down to.
I'd go a little bit further, not necessarily just freezing the account, but let's say you were getting 100% of your money well, now you're only getting 60%, just like you're only perhaps getting 60% because you're a 40% taxpayer, or 50% because you're a higher earner. And so I think more and more of what you see as your new money in CBDC terms, you actually see a smaller percentage of that because it's easier for them to tax you on it.
It'll be the personalised inflation, which Pomp referred to, which I think is a very good point. Like, you're not quite naughty enough for us to freeze your account. We're going to do personalised inflation or higher taxes for a week.
Yeah. And what will be even worse punishment for you is the government's favourite tactic, which is isolation. So if you get punished, also your friends and family, because they're associated with you, will also get a form of punishment. So what quickly happens if you have like anyone that was friends with me say, he eats steak every day. He's keeping.
I don't know you.
in this future land,
I saw him once. He disgusted me, and I spat in his direction.
Oh man, in the future world, you want to practice that line because he's going to come in handy for you. But because so
don't worry, I'll do the action as well.
Because it's what they do in China, isn't it? Right? If someone, I think, defaults on a loan, or they don't pay something or whatever, then it doesn't just hurt them; it hurts their friends and family as well. They all get, if they get like a 2-week timeout, their friends and family get like a 2-day timeout or something. And very quickly, what you end up doing, if you've got mates that don't abide by the government rules, you have to cut them off. You have to stop interacting with them, and that literally, the whole thing of the CBDC as well. It starts creating this killer app where you start doing your chat through the app. Like, everything you do is in this banking app, which is exactly what's happened in China, where there's no like different social networks. Or different banks. There's one app that has your social media and your banking and your news in it. So the genius of that is they can track everything. So whenever you mess up, they just have a look at the last couple of people you've chatted to and they punish them. And so what it encourages is that, because they get punished as well, if it keeps happening, they end up stop talking to you because they're worried about getting punished again. So the bad actors get isolated from society, and their only way of coming back is to behave. It's
self-regulating, isn't it?
Yep.
When you have that in terms of that as well.
But after the behaviour of the last 2 years, some people will enjoy that.
They would love it. They would love it. They would thrive in it. They were calling up, reporting people with 7 people at a barbecue.
Yeah.
And to be
6. Yeah, supposed to be 6.
Or someone going to see their dying mother. Let's phone the police on them. Horrible individual.
I know, it's disgusting. No, literally, I always say it, but like, we are many, they are few. If we don't abide by these rules in the current landscape, they can't enforce it. The problem with this type of world is they can enforce it because they have made it so efficient and put everything into one app. Now, if they find out that you fucked up, it is so easy for them to punish you, and also get the 50 closest people to you as well and punish them. This is a bad, like, this doesn't even, like, the non-compliant people in this land don't survive. They have to leave.
Someone take Mr. Rollins' phone from him with his Twitter rants. You're gonna get us both blocked.
We just need to get to Bitcoin City in El Salvador and everything will be gravy. Well, Sailor needs to hurry up and buy his country, and I'm moving.
We need hyper-Bitcoinization so we can fuck this shit off.
We really do. Do you know what the most crazy story I actually read today, just talking about nuts things, is my little Mars comment before made me remember it. Basically, in California, they had a load of agents go into a load of nurseries. They segregated off a load of the 3 and 4-year-olds, and they interviewed them privately with no other adults present.
3 and 4-year-olds?
Yep, 3 and 4-year-olds in a nursery.
California, not China.
In California. And they asked them, because the mask mandate is still in place there. and they were segregating these kids off, asking them, are you still wearing masks, or do you take them off sometimes? Because they suspect, and there's been reports from the parents, that the kids aren't wearing them. So the authorities went in to check and actually interrogated 3-year-olds around their mask wearing. You just go, like you said, like you said before, like some people are loving this. I saw the report and I clicked on it, and there's a load of people supporting it, going, absolutely, kids should still be wearing masks.
But could it just be bots?
I really hope so, because if these people are real, they just have no fucking brain or any sensibility in their brains, because making a 3-year-old wear a mask at nursery.
But it gives them some purpose. That's kind of like, the other side of it is these people are fucking NPCs. This is giving them a little bit of purpose. But, I get to wear a mask and save grandma. You haven't saved grandma. She's been fucking fine. And it hasn't been the mask which has done it.
Fuck grandmas anyway.
Well, we know about your OnlyFans.
I'm a bit of a fan of the GILF.
Oh, God. So, yeah, I think we'll cut that
on the Raz with Wayne Rooney. You've got a lot of time on your hands.
Hey, they're cheaper. You get more for your sats.
Oh, God.
They're more grateful.
It's later on the pod, which means less people will be listening.
Yeah,
exactly. Normally it's after I'm a glass of whiskey in that this all starts coming out. Yeah, we got another story about inflation. Actually, I thought this was Inflation Weekly, but we actually already had Inflation Weekly in there.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, it's from a UFC guy, Bryce Mitchell, who fought on Saturday, won his fight, big fight. Fair play to him. And I'm not sure, I didn't watch the full interview for this. I'm not sure how it came up, but he doesn't half drop some truth bombs in his post-fight press conference here.
1 minute 20.
He just goes through it and goes, the Fed is just 13 people controlling the price of the dollar, and we're all out here working for it. And we didn't vote for these guys. It's so corrupt. What the hell? Like, we're all earning, like, literally, this guy fights for his life for a living.
It was good, but I felt like what he was saying was not relatable to a lot of the public.
Yeah, I guess. So.
Like the amount of people who don't actually understand what inflation is. Like I explained it to someone in the office today, and they were over 30. That's not just one person. That's going to be quite common. So, like, I love this.
They work in marketing now.
Not in marketing.
Oh, okay. So, right.
But my whole point is, it's going to be commonplace. Inflation isn't understood. What causes it? And so, like him saying this, I thought is great. But a lot of people are going to be like, "What the fuck are you on about? He's lost his mind. Has he been taking acid, or has he been smoking too much weed?
Has he been hitting the head too many times?"
Yeah, exactly. Because everyone's going to look at him as a fighter and absolutely not have a brain cell in his head. But what he said was really good. Like you said, though, I'd like to understand the context of where the question and the answer came about. But ultimately, he, as a caged fighter, he doesn't want to be caged by the 13 in terms of the Fed and their laws. So yeah, I definitely want to get an understanding for it a little bit more. I've not actually come across them before, even though we watch a lot of UFC. It's the first time seeing him.
Yeah, he's had a few fights in UFC. He's doing pretty well. But I think what this represents, right, is I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention before, which could well be the case. But like how you say, like, people don't understand inflation. You have to explain it to someone that's in their 30s now. But I think more people are. Like, more people are getting it. Like, and this guy represents it, because I think if you go back 20 years, watch every single UFC press conference, inflation and money printing doesn't come up once. Because I actually imagine where this has come up is fighter pay.
Correct.
Because there's a lot of talk about at the moment, do fighters get paid enough? They're comparing it to boxing, all this type of stuff. And I'd imagine he's gone, you know what? We kind of get paid fine, but the biggest problem is this. and it's inflation. Like the 50K that I get today, I have to either spend it or invest it, because if I don't, in 5 years' time, it's only worth 25K, and that sucks. And I think that's probably the context he's making it in. And it's, you know, these people, like they only fight once or twice a year. They're very focused on their money. They know they've got short careers. They're all very, like, they're much more well educated now, aren't they? They've all seen their heroes kind of get to the top of either boxing or UFC or American football, kind of spunk it all in their 30s and then be bankrupt by 40. And so none of them want to be that. So they're going in going, I know I need to be smart of my money. And I think what it's doing is, and I think we said this right at the beginning of the year, which was these sports stars are going to be the people that end up leading the charge for Bitcoin, because they know they have short careers, they earn large amounts of money in their 20s. They have to make it work for them and make it that millions of pounds that they're going to earn in their 20s. It has to last them from their 20s all the way to death, because they're not going to earn anywhere near as much in between. They're unlikely to have a career that
it'll be like
again.
It'll maybe be your guest spot speaking after dinner, maybe a commentary, local radio, maybe a public appearance, but not the kind of dollars which they make.
Yeah. And the American footballers and the UFC guys, like, they'll probably have brain damage. So it's one of them where it's almost like they're not going to be even capable of.
We laugh, but yeah, very, very true. Like, the research being done on American football is scary. Yeah. One thing which I'd say is that I loved his rant, but he needed to dumb it down. So it's like, he talked about they control the dollar. Well, what does that mean? And it's just saying they control the dollar. So when they print more money, that your salary's staying the same, but everything becomes more expensive. So clothing, food, energy, property, everything else. I would have loved to see that little like bolt on to explain it to masses, because he's got that platform.
I think people got it though. I think people got it because I'm always drawn to the comments, and if you read through the comments of what people say, they massively agree with them.
Yeah, well, the only problem, I think, if you're reading the comments on this article, it's in our Bitcoin on Reddit.
Right. Yeah.
I was just clicking through then to have a quick look, and yeah, it's in Bitcoin, but I was just like, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
If this was just on like the UFC page or
the ESPN, Twitter, yeah.
But I'd imagine, I think I didn't see this clip anywhere else, unfortunately. Other than,
I'd love to see it on his Twitter or on his Instagram, what the reactions are to him.
Yeah, I guess ultimately he's not got that big of a fan base, but clearly if these are his views and he continues to win his fights, then more and more people will hear this.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of time until it's the majority of fighters and sports stars are going to be Bitcoiners. At the moment, it's a minority. I think fast forward a couple of years, I think it's the majority. And these voices, because the thing is, they're not going to be the most eloquent. They're not, the people we're used to listen to are the best of the best. And that's why they're doing the podcast, doing the videos. You've got the Stalers of the world and all that stuff. The average person isn't as good as articulating Bitcoin as that. They're a bit more clunky with it, but we'll get them through volume. And once more and more people start speaking out that, our fighter pay or our various pays do suck a little bit, but in comparison to the average person, it's really good. The only reason why it's not great to earn 20 million in your 20s is because you need that money to be still good when you're 80. And with inflation, it isn't. If you earn 20 million consistently from 20 to 80, you're kind of okay. And inflation does still hurt you, but nowhere near as bad. Whereas when you get earned, it hurts them so much more because they're so front weighted on their earnings. And then inflation kills you over 60 years. Your money is halved. What's that? 4 times. So you're going to really struggle. So you have to become essentially an accredited investor and figure out what you're going to do with your money. So I think more of the same.
Yeah. Well, that video's got, so far, looking at it, 4.6 million views.
Actually, he has posted it on his Twitter.
Yeah.
On the first comment I'm reading is why, so you can talk about stuff you know nothing about. Bubbo, I stopped listening when you said you didn't know what's going on in Ukraine. Here we are. Here's the normies. Raise your hand if you agree everyone owes Elon Musk and Joe Rogan an apology. You still don't. Oh, God. Yeah, lost faith in humanity again. Weirdly, it's got like, obviously it's gone viral, 4.6 million views.
Yeah.
22,000 likes, but all the comments seem to be negative. But anyway, I'm following in that guy now.
Yeah, that's the point. I'll follow him now. I found the tweet.
Yeah.
Probably would be my cup of tea, but never mind.
If he keeps tweeting a bit about Bitcoin. Should we move on to Shitcoin Corner?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's a sexy one.
So upon doing research on this,
this is probably the story I researched the most as well.
Yeah. Pornhub, RedTube, just purely for research purposes. No, I looked at more of a social. So obviously she's, the story is Lana Rhoades, porn star, releases NFTs, but then exits scams and deletes her social media. So there was a big promise of a huge NFT drop for all you JPEG lovers out there from a well-known porn star, Lana Rhoades. But lo and behold, they didn't get what they asked for, just like we revealed last week. And so, I've not seen anything on her Instagram since last year. So she may have had stuff on there, but she's still got over 16 million followers, nearly 17 million followers on Instagram, and no stories in 2022 or anything new posted in 2022. And on Twitter, completely gone.
Yeah, she deleted a lot of it, didn't she?
Mm.
Yeah, she raised basically 1.5 million. And I think, yet again, this is always the thing, right? It's that the incentives are the wrong way around on nearly all shitcoin projects and NFT projects, which is you're supposed to, like, you launch a project with a prospect of doing loads of work, but you essentially get your IPO exit at the beginning.
Mm.
So this one's relatively low, like it's 1.5 million apparently that she made. And then she released a load of NFTs. But then I think what was supposed to happen with these NFTs, I think it's a little bit like the Pixel one before. I think they're supposed to do something. I think you're supposed to interact with them, or I don't know. You're meant to do something with these bollocks JPEGs. And she just decided to just close the project down and go, I'm not doing anything. And everyone's like, what the hell?
She didn't like the negative comments.
Yeah. And when she had a great comment. I don't think it's in this article, but literally someone was calling her a scammer. I think it's before she deleted her Twitter. And she was maybe we shared it in the chat, where it was like someone was like saying, look, I can't believe you scammed a load of people. And she went, look, people are dying out there. Think of Ukraine. Like, what the fuck's that got to do with the fact you've stolen my money? Like, what the fuck?
Ping, ping,
No,
ping,
that was
ping, 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 ping,
that
ping.
was in
Do you know
the
that
article.
sound is deflection?
It was. So it was in the article. Then it said she added in the grand picture things. This is so fucking stupid for me to even address outside of finding a solution for the actual holders of the NFT.
Yeah, so is she trying to say that she had nothing to do with it and received none of the funds? Because she was also the same person that beforehand, in terms of the NFT drop, was promoting the drop. So she's either in it or she's not in it.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Yeah, here's the quote. People are living in fear for their life in Ukraine right now, and people are worried about NFTs. What has the war come to? It's come to the fact that you've stolen $1.5 million of other people's money, and now you're not going to do anything with it like you promised.
And she claimed she dropped it due to rude comments.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. And guess what? You're going to get rude comments when you scam people out of $1.5 million.
And I think when I watched on CoffeeZilla as well, she said something about she needs to feed her baby.
Yeah, this was random and weird as well. Just makes you kind of a bit like a little bit of sick came in my mouth. The fact that the launch came.
Was it sick?
That's nearly as good as prison safe as a pain in the ass. A little bit of sick came in my mouth.
Or for research purposes.
2002.
Like 2 weeks after she just had a baby, like really, it just feels so wrong.
Yeah, she has to feed the baby, but
Yeah.
from what I was having a quick Google about her wealth, it's in the tens of millions.
Yeah, she's the number one porn star in the world. Because it's mainly because she started dating one of Logan Paul's mates. I watched like the odd Logan Paul podcast. He has a podcast and he's got a guy on it called Mike, and it's the Mike guy that started dating her, and that's what got her on a lot of people's radars.
Is he the baby daddy or is it you?
No, I'm glad. If it was me, geez.
I'm glad it wasn't me.
I nearly said that. I was like, actually,
yeah,
it might be worth some money. She'd be richer than me. But no, she started dating him, and I think because he had such a big following, because he tagged into Logan Paul, she was already pretty big, and then it just catapulted her to number one. So now she has such a big following, and I think really, when I really look at this, I actually do feel a little bit sorry for her. She's probably I shouldn't do really. What I think's happened here is she just has a massive following. Everyone's making money out of NFTs. Someone has probably approached her and gone, look, this next big thing, we can do this great thing for the project. It's going to do this, going to do that. So she's just gone, you know what? Fine, I'll put my name to it. And they've just gone off and done a load of NFTs in her likeness. And then they've just gone, look, all you got to do is tweet a few things and we'll send your money here. And I think she's just done it. And then probably the people that have advised her have gone, yeah, we're not doing any of the work. We're out. See ya. And she's gone, oh, fuck. Now I'm left holding the bag. I've been paid, but I don't know what I'm doing. So she's just gone, fuck it. Sorry, it's over. And everyone's kicked off and she's taking all the shit. Obviously, she's responsible. She said yes, and she's tweeted it all out. But she's got no clue what she's doing. She's a porn star. And she's kind of entered this space. Even if she did know what she's doing, it's just a cash grab.
Apparently, like the followers are saying that they're all trying to remain. They want to remain being nice to her, just in case she does come back.
Simps.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because
but
I do
it kind of
think
does.
you're right in the fact that she was probably paid and played.
But it goes back to the whole thing: is people are buying shit which has no real value, and they're going to get burnt one way or another. And this is just another way of being burnt.
Oh man, this next story, I found this literally today. You probably haven't seen it. No. I literally just want to play a little bit of this because it's just legendary. I just want to play it now.
We're all gonna make it. Yeah, we're all gonna make it. We're all gonna make it, everyone. It's just the start, so GM, Cafe or Crypto DM, DYOR, and pick a coin.
Pick a coin. Shut up, you dumb bitch. That is Mark Zuckerberg's sister.
Is it actually really?
Yeah. This is Randy Zuckerberg. So the link that I've linked you to is her Twitter account. It is not a fake account. It is legitimately her. It links her YouTube on there, which is all her, all her pictures are her. And her whole background, like I clicked on her YouTube, it's all been legitimate up until now. She's just been doing like business stuff, largely trying to help women in business, which fine, whatever, bit woke, but we'll allow it. And the last couple of months, she's just gone off the fucking rails and started doing NFTs. Oh, we've lost another look, but carry on.
He's just looking at the previous story.
He's got his Pornhub is taking up all his bandwidth.
Yeah, it's just I was watching the video as you're playing it. I seem to have it in perfect sync for where it was, and I'm going, what is this middle-aged woman doing?
Oh man, she's launching an NFT project.
and we're all going to make it because of it. So it's basically going to be an NFT with just women in it, from what I can gather.
Yeah, so inclusive, only vaginas. If you got a cock and balls, get the fuck out. We're inclusive here.
We had this from, was it the World Economic Forum tried to launch something? Was that about a women only one? That was about a month or two ago. And it flopped spectacularly because everyone just went, why the fuck would I buy an NFT from the WEF? Yeah. And I kind of look at this and go, why the fuck would they buy an NFT from you? But it just seems like she's cashing in, isn't she? She's riding on people's emotions.
But does she even, like, literally, I feel like I had the face of you this time last week after watching that video and thinking, what the fuck is that? What have my eyes just witnessed?
Can't Zuckerberg pay her to do nothing again?
Exactly.
Well, he brought her in as an early employee. Like, she has stock. She's a billionaire. She doesn't need to do this.
Yeah.
Oh. So why is she ripping people off with NFTs?
I know it is so weird because up until now, she's just been a philanthropist, which, helping women in business, which, fair enough. Just you just go do your thing. And like I said, the last month, she just started shilling this NFT project. I just don't get it because
someone got in her ear. This person's just saying, you can make a difference, leave a kind of mark by having these NFTs, which will be timeless. And it's just like, well, actually, it's a JPEG, and you're just shilling people's shit, and they're going to lose their money. It's going to zero.
Yeah, I honestly, I have no clue what she is doing here. It's because things, even if she I don't know, the most successful NFT project probably was like last week's one where they made 70 million. Let's say she makes 100 million out of this, which I don't think she will because she's not that well known compared to, Alana Rhodes or a Snoop Dogg. Most people don't even know who she is other than Zuck's sister. So let's say she makes 100 million though. It doesn't even move the needle for her. So I have no clue why she's setting the little reputation that she had on fire with this. I have no clue. Unless she's been very reckless with her billions and she's lost it all.
What could you spend billions on? Like losing a couple of million, you're kind of going, okay, we've seen footballers doing it, but billions, how could you manage that? It'd be a really bad investment going wrong.
Yeah. And your brother's still Mark as well, which he can still throw you a cheeky 50 mil.
Well, I think, as we said last week as well, when you get to that stage, the only thing that could actually derail you is you. And the fact that she's got this handle of, like, obviously she's on trend with the blue and the yellow, and then some sort of image of her as well, and then doing this song, it's just like it's all downhill. She's doing all of the wrong things all at the same time.
Actually, oh my God, yeah, spot on. She's having a midlife crisis, and she just wants to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
That's it. She just wants a bit of fame and to be noticed.
A decade ago, I sang this song on Broadway.
She wants to get out of the shadow of her brother.
Yeah,
and this is some weird, this is like a 50-year-old guy going out and buying a sports car,
Exactly.
And just trying to pull some 18-year-old. This is the woman's version when you're a billionaire. It's just, let's just launch an NFT project and start dancing around in the street. But
people are going to get hurt by this. People are going to buy it. If you buy into this, you're a fucktard.
I'm hurt here, and here, the bum hole. Oh, good old NFTs. Always a good laugh. Trying to move on to our last story.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's your man Drake.
Drizzy, the kid, the boy. T-Dot's very finest. So I think, again, we've said it before, but Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies will certainly have a part to play in online gambling and betting. Just don't follow this bet. Whilst he got 2 out of the 3 for the Super Bowl, looks like he may be using some of that money by betting 7 Bitcoin on George Masvidal to win against Colby Covington at the weekend, which fight just gone previously in UFC over the weekend, and unfortunately came up short. So he's probably some sort of like advocate for Stake, which is a betting company in Canada where you can bet with Bitcoin. And they probably gave him a load of Bitcoin anyway. So he's, as we get free spins, but our free spins are 20 quid. He's probably got about, 20 Bitcoin. There you go, Drake. Do as you please. But when you do it, just video record it. And so he's put 7 Bitcoin live on the moment on George Masvidal to win and lost it all.
Yeah. It seems like he's sponsored, isn't
he? Yeah, it's got to be.
But I kind of look at this and think, yeah, we've got great. It's a use case of Bitcoin, but it goes against the principles of Bitcoin, doesn't it? About the time preference, which is the essence. It's kind of like, why would you flitter away your hard money?
But at the same time, Bitcoin allows you to do what you want with it. You can have a low or high time preference. It should incentivize you to be low time preference, but let's be honest. So Drake here, he's betting 7 Bitcoin. We don't know how many Bitcoin he's got. He's probably got 7,000. So this is the equivalent of us putting 20 quid on a fight. He just
it will be relative.
275,000. Like we've said, he might well have $1 million worth of bets given to him for free as well. And all he's doing is putting them on. He put a couple on in the Super Bowl. He's put one on the UFC here. But yeah, it does show that the big celebs, they're using their Bitcoin. These platforms that accept Bitcoin, they're taking meaty bets. So it's the thing is, like, with the thing what you need to know about Bitcoin is like we had one episode where we said literally like Bitcoin is for Hitler, so it's for everyone. So once you can gamble with it, you can do everything with it. All the use cases that you don't agree with, until Bitcoin is usable and possible to be used in that situation, we're still further away from Bitcoin hyphenization, because it has to be everywhere for it to be used. So allowing celebrities to bet stupid amounts of money on a fight and then lose it, it's all just part of the process, isn't it? And it's probably working. This stuff seems to go a bit viable every time Drake does a bet. People watch, so he's doing it in Bitcoin. It's free market.
I mean, he's not short of a bob or two. 180 to 200 million is his net worth, making 70 million per year. So I think it's good for it. Yeah. And that's only on what's reported, by the way.
Yeah, and those things are notoriously wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, they're either like stupidly low or stupidly high. I'd imagine people like Drake, he seems to be hustling in so many different arenas. It's probably 5 to 10x that number, I'd imagine, for this kind of guy. He's just
for one show he's getting 1 to 2 million.
Yeah, and he probably got paid a couple of million for this sponsorship deal with Stripe, Stake.
Yeah,
so
Stake. Yeah,
that won't be on that list. The other stuff is like album sales and stuff kind of recorded. That's the stuff that's easy to track. Always little sponsorship deals on Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. That's all just, no one knows what he's getting paid. He just goes in his bank account, doesn't it? And now everyone's just, who knows what a paid post for Drake has cost, but I bet it's 7 figures.
Yeah. And Drake can sell out tours. Been fortunate to see him. And as he said in one line, turn the O2 into the O3, and they changed the London O2 into that exactly. They changed the sign, so it's true.
What's the O3 got to do with anything?
He just basically decided, I don't want to call it the O2, I want to call it the O3, rock up to the O2 and literally the O2 said the O3.
Oh, fair play to him.
Yeah, I mean, if you can sell it out 7 nights in a row, which he did, yeah, he can do what the hell you want.
Fair enough. Well, I think that's been it's always weird. I always enjoy like the second half an hour is always the most enjoyable because it's just full of stupid shit.
Yeah.
The first like hour is really heavy, important stuff, but it's that's the stuff that I'm here for. But then I always enjoy the last bit, which is just fucking about.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was pod number 46, brought to you by Dr. Evil 10%, comedy gold at its finest. Myself, Sir Never Look, Mr. All In, and she was here, but she's never here. Every week it dwindles in the percentage that she did turn up. And yeah, Mrs. No Show. Thanks for listening. Getting to the end. Any comments? Feel free to hit us up. Peace.
See you, boys.
See you later.